Before GPS, before compasses, the stars were the only guide. Travelers used them to keep on course across oceans and land. But that's only possible if you know which way they're facing and how to read their positions in the night sky. And somehow, ancient civilizations knew them better than they should have. Today, we are going to explore 5 ancient star maps that shouldn't exist. From an underground cave to an Ottoman admiral, these echo through time to teach us about the past. Starting with number 5, the Lasco Cave constellations. It's hard to overstate the Lasco Cave's importance to our understanding of early human life. Located in southwestern France, this underground complex was first discovered in 1940 by 4 teenagers exploring the woods nearby. Inside the cave, they found a series of breathtakingly beautiful paintings depicting animals from thousands of years before. We don't know exactly when these images were made because dating techniques can only take us back so far. But the artwork itself tells us these paintings must have been completed sometime between 14,000 and 17,000 years ago. Given how difficult it is to reach the walls that contain the paintings, it would be easy to assume that the cave was used as a place of ritual or worship. And some researchers think that might be true. There's no evidence that humans ever lived inside the cave, so why they went to such lengths to decorate it is unclear. But researchers noticed something strange while studying the cave paintings. Many of the animals depicted seem to match with constellations visible in the night sky at certain times of the year. Researchers believe that the earliest humans used the positions of certain animals in the sky to track the seasons, just like we use the constellations today. But the Lasco constellation paintings seem much more sophisticated. In fact, one researcher suggested that there's enough detail in the paintings to suggest that the artists had spent years observing the night sky. It's unlikely that they could have done this while living in a nearby village, given how deep in the ground the cave is and how far away it is from the nearest opening. Without any light being able to reach inside, it would have been impossible for those ancient people to see the sky directly. It seems like the Lasco cave paintings could have been made during ceremonies deep inside the cave, lit only by torches or other artificial light sources. But without more research, it's hard to say for sure. At number 4, the Nebra sky disk. Archaeologists excavating a field in Germany in 1969 came across what they assumed was a broken bronze disc. After further examination, they realized it was a disc with an axle hole running straight through its center. At first, they believed it was part of a wagon wheel, but upon closer inspection, they saw something else. The axle hole was surrounded by a circular pattern of symbols, all pointing towards the center of the disc. What could it have been? In modern times, we have plenty of examples of discs like this, called astrolabes, which show the positions of the stars and planets based on the observer's location on Earth. But astrolabes are complicated pieces of technology and require a lot of mathematical knowledge to construct. This sky disk is so old that it predates the astrolabe by centuries. This makes it even more surprising that it appears to depict the sky so accurately. It shows the positions of the sun and moon as well as 30 stars and 3 additional celestial bodies, which may represent the phases of the moon. Most remarkably, all of these symbols are arranged in such a way to reflect their positions in the night sky at the time of the summer solstice around 1800 BC. Researchers were shocked by the level of astronomical knowledge required to make such a device. Not only would someone need to understand trigonometry and basic physics, they'd also need to have a comprehensive view of the sky to know where everything fit. We still don't know who created the Nebra sky disk, what they used it for, or where they got their knowledge. But some experts believe it was created by a culture of ancient German-speaking people who may have held advanced astronomical knowledge. For number 3, the Dendera Zodiac. Deep in the Egyptian desert, the Temple of Hathor contains carvings and paintings that span hundreds of years of history. During the Ptolemaic dynasty, Egypt was ruled over by Greek kings, but they adopted many elements of Egyptian culture and religion into their own. One of these was a particular carving found on the ceiling of the temple known as the Dendera Zodiac. This carving depicts 13 signs of the zodiac, very similar to the signs we use today. But not all of them match up. The Dendera Zodiac includes a bull, twins, a crab, a lion, a scorpion, a scales, a bird, a teapot, a water carrier, 2 fish, an Aries constellation, a man, a snake, and a dragon. Only 9 of these correspond to the traditional Western zodiac signs: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. Instead of the Western Capricorn, there is a goat-like figure, which could either be a mistake or a separate astrological sign unknown to modern astronomers. But there's something else strange about this carving. All 13 signs appear to be arranged along a circle, matching the shape of the ecliptic plane, the apparent path of the sun across the sky. But that wasn't always the case. When the zodiac was first developed by the Babylonians, the signs weren't arranged in a circle at all. Instead, they were scattered randomly across the sky. It's believed that the Egyptians adapted the Babylonian zodiac into its circular form, but the exact origins of the signs themselves go back even further. The Egyptian zodiac dates back almost 2,000 years before the Babylonian version, meaning they may have been responsible for creating the original concept. But this isn't possible, or is it? You see, ancient Egypt is famous for having a pre-dynastic period spanning the late 4th millennium BC, in which dozens of small villages formed the building blocks of Egyptian society. But some historians debate whether or not these settlements should actually be considered a civilization. The term civilization usually implies some kind of centralized government, something which pre-dynastic Egypt didn't have. This means that the Egyptian zodiac could have been created before the advent of civilization itself. But that raises another question. How did ancient Egyptians develop such advanced knowledge without having built a society? And how did that society come together once it was exposed to such ideas? For number 2, the Babylonian star catalog. Today we can use the internet or smartphone apps to look up which stars are visible at a given time. But thousands of years ago, people had to memorize the positions of the stars. And one civilization did that better than any other: the Babylonians. Living in southern Mesopotamia around 1800 BC, the Babylonians were a wealthy kingdom with strong ties to the empire next door. Over time, they absorbed many aspects of Assyrian culture, including their gods. And one of the most important gods in the Assyrian pantheon was Ishtar, the goddess of love and war. To honor her, the Babylonians built 7 temples across their empire, each dedicated to one of the 7 wandering stars visible in the night sky. And it just so happened that the Babylonians were excellent astronomers. They carefully observed the motions of the planets and eventually created a system of star signs based on their positions in the sky. These signs became the basis of the Western zodiac. But they didn't stop there. The Babylonians kept track of hundreds of stars in the sky, giving each one a name and recording their position in relation to one another. Unfortunately, we haven't found any records left behind by the Babylonians themselves. Their empire fell to outside invaders, and their archives were destroyed. But the records we do have tell an incredible story. Many of our current constellations are directly descended from the Babylonian catalog, and modern astronomers use the same names for many of the stars that the Babylonians did. But how did they get this knowledge? Babylon was the first known civilization to systematically record and study the motions of the planets and stars. But how did they learn so much about the universe? At number 1, the Piri Race Map. The Ottomans were a powerful empire that spanned parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa. Between 1451 and 1683, they ruled the Eastern Mediterranean, and their influence extended far beyond their borders. As cartographers and navigators, the Ottomans were extremely skilled. And one of their most famous discoveries is a map drawn by admiral and cartographer Piri Race in 1513. The map is remarkable for several reasons. For starters, it covers both the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea with incredible accuracy. But it's also detailed enough to show South America and Africa in their correct shapes, a feat which hadn't been accomplished until 100 years later. The Piri Race Map is famous for showing Antarctica as well. At the time Piri Race drew the map, no European had ever seen the continent, and it wasn't officially recognized until 1820. Yet the map shows the continent as outlined with astonishing clarity. It seems highly unlikely that the Ottomans could have mapped Antarctica without having access to some kind of ancient knowledge. But if they didn't discover Antarctica, then who did? Some conspiracy theorists claim the map proves the existence of Atlantis, citing the map's age, and the fact that Piri Race himself claimed to have used an ancient Greek manuscript to draw his map. But others argue that the continents shown on the map are simply a combination of scientific guesswork and simple geography. Either way, the Piri Race Map is one of the most important maps ever created, and it plays a vital role in our understanding of naval history. But it's also impossible that the Ottomans knew so much about the stars. On the top right corner of the map, you can see the constellations of the Northern Hemisphere. But the placement of the stars doesn't match up with their current positions. Instead, the stars seem to line up with the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. This suggests the map was created using a coordinate system different from our own. If the stars were placed according to the tropics instead of the equator, that would explain why the map is so accurate. But this also means that the stars must have been lined up differently thousands of years ago. Unfortunately, we don't know enough about astronomy to be sure. Who charted the stars so long ago and why? Maybe we will find the answer one day soon. But until then, we can marvel at the echoes of the past and what they reveal about the ingenuity of our ancestors. Thanks for watching. Which of these ancient star maps surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe for more echoes of the past.